everybody. Welcome to twitch.tv/NRG store, brought to you live here from the Nerd Rage Gaming home store.
Dominic Stryker alongside George Jabor. What's up, George?
Back to back.
Back to
Look
back.
at
You're
that.
right. Yeah, we're actually sitting back to back in the studio as well.
Yeah, I would never look you in the eye.
Yeah, I would never look. As our players are off to the races. Justin Brickman on the left side here with 4-color control. You'll see that might be a little of a misnomer. And on our right side, Jovan rocking hardened scales, a well-known Murktide player rocking the scales, and unfortunately getting the namesake card removed by Prismatic Ending.
Internationally known Murktide player.
Really? Was that really?
I think
That's
he was
awesome.
overseas recently. That's
Oh,
all.
sick. That's why he was out here. That's awesome.
But yeah, I think sometimes ending the hardened scales, I feel like I'm on and off about.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back and forth on whether it's even important enough. Like Justin maybe hoped that he's like, man, if that was my only removal spell, I wish I had that for this.
Right, when the Patchwork Automaton.
It's about to become a 5/5 in no time.
And here we see Fable of the Mirror Breaker. A little peek behind the curtain. Justin Brickman's playing my deck right now. Usually you see George is on stream, but this one's mine. In the last minutes, about an hour ago, Justin's like, I think I really want to play these Fables. So we slipped these in, and already looking good, even if it just trades off here in combat.
Yeah, this would have been a Teferi. Is that kind of what they?
Yeah, we
started
kind of
for?
shaved on some Teferis, and if you get a peek at Brickman's hand, he's got those as well, just to go alongside it right now.
There we go, yeah. But man, this Patchwork Automaton is just always so annoying because it comes down on turn 2, and there's not a lot of removal spells that can kill it while
Mhm.
also paying the ward that early on.
Right.
So you have to wait to kill
Yes.
it. At that point, it's huge, and you're
Mhm.
taking like 10 damage.
And like you said, right, we play 2 artifacts here, pump this up to a 3/3, rumble through in combat, no problem, no questions asked. Unable to trade off with our 2/2, and now we have a Goblin Shaman, but already against Patchwork Automaton, kind of the new hotness in scales, relatively speaking, when Arcbound Ravager, a card that's been decimating Modern and Magic for 10 plus years now, shows up as well.
Yeah, and it looks like we're thinking about this Fable trigger about what to discard. I think Justin, while he's still at 17, as long as he's still above 0, can just win because, like you said, 4-color control is a bit of a misnomer.
There's a little bit of spice in here. Justin Brickman's playing the 4-color Copycat, which has been getting some attention recently. Did well at the LMS event. A lot of people were like, "Oh, event was won by Scam. Oh my goodness!" But right down there in 24th was this brave Copycat player. I've been obsessed with this deck. Justin was as well. We both played here, NRG. So any excuse to come back to this. And how about an Omnath, followed up by, I believe, a Misty Rainforest, and we might just have it all.
Yeah, this was, I think, a really good call on Justin's deck building end of putting in these Fables because they curve so nicely into an Omnath. Look at this.
They curve nicely into an Omnath. They curve nicely into a Ring. They curve nicely into Felidar Guardian, Flicker my Fable of the Mirror Breaker, get 2/2/2s.
Specifically, though, being able to play this Omnath this early and being able to get the life gain trigger to buy you time.
Yes.
And the mana to, in a sense, buy you time. Like it's propelling you a turn forward than you would have normally been. Now he can. I think that was a lightning bolt in hand.
Yeah,
he
we have
can
a
get
bolt.
rid of this automaton.
Yes, because we're going to be able to float the mana here off Omnath's second trigger,
Is that a
get the bolt and the ward for the bolt.
is that a Ravager though?
That's a
Okay,
promo
okay,
Ravager
okay.
as our second card here.
So we can't quite bolt it, but we can. We're gonna have enough mana to Teferi plus downtick plus pay for the ward, if that's what we want to do.
Yes.
In any case, any decision that he's making here is just gonna buy him so much time.
Yes. Alongside this Omnath gaining you this life, accelerating your mana, we still have a Fable flipping that Jovan's going to have to deal with. And Jovan has to quickly move from being the aggressor half a turn ago to now being on the back foot already. Justin here possibly getting this tap land, going to get the 4 mana off this Omnath and spend it any way that they'd like.
He's thinking about, did I need that 5th mana? Did I want to play that Teferi, or am I going to be okay without it?
Right, and we're thinking this might be a bolt plus pay for ward turn, so we'll use up all that mana anyways. We're going after the Ravager, not the Patchwork, means we may have a use for the remaining 3 mana.
Yeah, because we can still play the Teferi now, and depending on where he put that Ravager, maybe we can still Teferi bounce. Oh, we had an ending.
But we have 3 mana floating.
Oh.
We can remove the Ozlith if we want to make sure we use our mana, and that will be the case here.
Oh, there was never
And a
Teferi.
Halfling,
Okay.
which can chump block this Patchwork.
There was never a Teferi there, I see. But there is an Ink Moth waiting in the wind there.
And it looks like that might have been all of Justin's cards. He might be fresh out, but they're all already in play, so that'll work just the same. As another copy of the Ozlith comes down.
God, that feels so bad every single time.
When you remove a legendary permanent, they just slam the one that's been stuck in their hand.
It feels the worst, specifically with the Yawgmoth, Thran Physician.
You put so much effort into removing it off the table.
And then they draw 3, 4, 5 cards.
Mm-hmm,
And you're like, wow, there's an empty board. And then they untap and then refill their board, refill
Slam
their
it.
hand. There's another Yawgmoth because they just drew 5 cards.
Here comes Jovan looks to go the hard way here at the Inkmoth, kicking in for a single point of that poison damage, but that can tick up very quickly in tandem with like that Ravager we had earlier. It's not going to take very long at all.
It is gonna, or the Inkmoth is gonna ignore any of the life gain that comes through the Omnath, though.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's pretty good. From Jovan's end, in that this Omnath was sitting here. There's another 4 life from Justin. If he can get another Ravager, or if he can get another way to get a lot of counters onto this Inkmoth, it's not going to matter how much time Justin bought in terms of life.
Yes, very importantly that this Inkmoth could be the make or break, getting Infect on this card. As we see Jovan continue to make their own land drops, allowing you to have the mana to activate your Inkmoth while still having mana to do things after the fact or in conjunction with it. More mana is not a bad thing when you're trying to win when attacking the creature land, as Justin goes up to 2, in fact.
I thought in Jovan's opener, I might have seen a Pendelhaven, but I guess I was mistaken. And now Justin just rips a ring off the top, which is going to, again,
Might be.
I don't want to say buy him time again, but
it does.
That's what it's
So
doing.
we were talking about this deck where I like playing the copycat strat as opposed to playing straight 4-color, because 4-color is just trying to like scrape together a win with doing whatever it can and not losing the game.
Yeah.
This deck buys time and then in a snap can just kill you.
Yeah, it's great to have an I win button in your deck, even if you want to play traditional control stuff and draw go and counter stuff. I mean, it's not really the way that Magic can be played nowadays.
Right.
Even in my control decks, I like to have one of those I win buttons.
Yes. So this deck is becoming more and more a combo of cards that really, like we've been saying, buy you time and gain you advantage, like a Fable, like an Omnath, like a Ring. And then when your opponent's trying to deal with all of that, you're trying to just kill them.
Yeah, it's very often the case in a normal. Oh, and that's a huge card.
Right. But Jovan, we're going to be able to use this to eat. Agatha's Soul Cauldron can eat this Arcbound Ravager in the yard. Might have been the plan we were working towards. It seems like it's all been leading here.
This is going to be huge. And is that dice at the top representing the 1 infect damage?
There are 2 infect. I believe Justin stole the die for their 1 ring, but currently we know that Jovan has attacked with this Inkmoth twice. So there are 2 points of infect on Justin.
I was saying something before that Soul Cauldron completely derailed me, but I completely forgot.
Left side was buying time. Now we have on the right side this Soul Cauldron, plus getting an Arcbound Ravager alongside this Inkmoth. Might not be much time left for Justin to buy.
This is what I was gonna say. It was on the topic of buying time. So you were saying Justin's buying time to an end, to a particular end. A lot of times I found in a control deck where I'm buying time.
There's nowhere you're going.
I'm sharing the time with my opponent.
Yeah, you're buying them
also
time too.
getting time to find their good cards, their one turn kills, their way to overtake the game. So it is important a lot to have when you're buying time towards what?
Right, and to understand that we're going to be able to use our draw step plus this ring to draw 3 cards. We have access to this Fable to start making copies of things if we'd like. But understand that Jovan, who has also bought this time, has this Soul Cauldron, and they're now going to try to take all of it away from you.
Yeah, and I mean, not this turn.
Might be this moment.
I mean, the protection, the really cool Inkling Customs protection token is sitting there under the ring. So
shout-outs.
He can't quite do it here, but he could kill a Ren in 6, for example.
And Jovan looks to be doing this in the end step when Berkman's now fully tapped out from fetching on their end step. Jovan using their own to make sure that they can get this counter with that Arcbound, put it on the Inkmoth, and then send it back to Justin once he's untapped, knowing Jovan got to do part of his trick already.
Yep.
And we bought all that life from Omnath, and now it's going to pay off as we use it for these rings and not worry about dying.
Right, we got 1 piece. No pun intended. Actually, no pun intended. I've not watched the anime.
Oh.
I meant we have 1 piece of the combo in Justin's hand. He drew a cat.
Sweet.
Yes.
And alongside that, we could use it, flicker our Armath, draw some more cards. We could flick the Fable if we want to get even deeper. We could do it, flicker the Ring to just draw one more card further and reset that number. There are a lot of options on how to use this card. Even if you want to, you can just flicker a land and just get a little bit of discount.
You can play a land to gain life.
Yes.
Flicker the Omnath.
Play a land,
catch
gain
it,
life.
and it'll gain life again. Not that that's what Justin's lacking. There's a lot of tricks here.
Yeah, it looks like we're using the Ring. We're going to flicker this. Remember, we don't regain protection. That's only a cast clause. But we're going to use it to just dig deeper onto our cards in hand. And now we're going to activate our Fable, target the cat, keep going if we want here.
Days Undoing. Sorry.
That's only in there because you need to sign that for me.
Caught my eye.
And Justin leaving with this final land, this Rogran Triumph. This is being left up for a Leyline Binding that looks to be one of the last cards left in their hand. So if things start to go poorly, remember, Binding does not answer Inkmoth.
It does answer a Soul Cauldron.
Right. So we may need to remove that so that we don't have access to becoming Ravager with this patchwork and moving on to Inkmoth.
And Justin did draw Solitude and has an Omnath in hand. So if we go like Binding the Soul Cauldron, and then, which by the way is legendary, so you know he's gonna draw another one.
Yeah, could unlock it for Jovan.
Binding the Soul Cauldron, then have this Solitude waiting for this Inkmoth. You might be putting up a really insurmountable line of defense here.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, Justin might be debating using this Misty to find a white source, go up to 5 and hard cast the Solitude now, but now might not be the right windowing to try to catch everything. But we may be trying to get in a situation where we could use the Solitude almost as bait to use the Leyline Binding to pick up the real problem.
Yeah, I think you want to cast the Binding first, target the Cauldron, just so if Jovan did want to use any of those Ravager abilities, it would all get caught up, and then the Solitude would come and clean up whatever was left.
I think we might be using this to get the mana to pay for the ward of charging Patchwork.
But I don't know that Patchwork Automaton is a threat on this board at all. I'm not afraid of that.
Yeah, the threat is the counters that are on it, right?
It's the Cauldron and the Inkmoth that are kind of staring at each other, or they're not looking at each other. It's like those two troublemakers in class who are trying both not to
They're
laugh.
both trying to egg each other
Yes,
on.
Yeah, and you know something's gonna happen.
Goodness, this 4-color deck on the left side really putting a lot of permanence into play right now. Just really gumming up the board.
One of them's temporary, not a permanent.
And it looks like we are using that. Pay the ward, pick up the Patchwork. Those counters slide over to the Ozolith. Use it as Halfling, possibly as a blocker. And we must be holding Solitude white card then. On top of all of these actions per turn.
Yeah.
We can even go to combat here.
Yeah, there was still another Omnath in hand.
Yes, good. So that's the white card that we have to be able to pitch to this.
And Scales plays some protection effects. I forget what the card's name is. Snakeskin Veil?
Could be because that's one that puts a +1 counter. So
Whichever
if there's one
one
that they
has
want
killed
access
me the
to,
most, it's that one. I have died a lot to those cards.
Right, because they just need a little bit of protection to get one more counter to push a little further. Justin here, remember, not only do we have access to a combo, but we have the classic just 4-color push my cards into the red zone and remove all of yours.
Yeah.
Getting into combat here with this Halfling, with this Omnath, just doing what we can. I say it one more time, buying time against Jovan, right?
It's worked up till now.
Right, because on our next turn, Justin's going to Ancestral Recall all over again, digging 3 cards deep. There's a possible I win button, or just 3 removal spells could be all those cards we draw.
Yeah, there were a couple of windows, I think, where Jovan could have maybe closed the door on Justin, but drawing the ring has really turned the corner for Justin. It's propelled him all the way here into this turn 7, 8, 9, wherever we are, with a lot of buffer.
Right, and what's interesting about Justin having this Solitude is Jovan's going to have to use a lot of their resources to building up the machine on this Inkmoth. Oh. And importantly, I believe if the Inkmoth leaves, those tokens, those counters will go back to the Ozolith. So their machine's still online. Looks like we're going to do it now before the card gets bigger, just so that Jovan gains less life, because that's kind of our out to kill right now.
I'm curious, what's the interaction if you use the Ozolith to target the Inkmoth but kill it before? It just fizzles. The counters.
Yeah, I would imagine there's nowhere for the counters to go, and they'll just hang out.
Yeah.
And now we just see mountains upon mountains of value creatures. Jovan put a lot of effort into this Inkmoth Nexus, answered with the 2 cards in Brickman's hand, but on their turn, drop return, plus 2 cards from the ring, you're at 33 going down to 32. You're not under the duress of the ring and can start really just churning through.
There's a lot of there are a lot of turns that scales can have that involve a walking ballista, one turn kill.
Not when
Well,
you're at
With
33.
as much life as Justin's been gaining, it's very, very out of reach. And it looks like we might not even have a spell in hand since we're just going to besage you this Fable on the main phase. And
Right. Fables, the flipped one's not really that great for us,
Yeah.
but giving a land to Justin isn't that great for you either, just because they seem to be able to use every drop of mana you're giving them.
Justin's going to go ahead and lose one life. on
No
the upkeep.
problem. And just going even deeper with our ring. There's leyline binding.
One at a time, Justin.
Yep. Looks like we're going to shuffle real quick. Just saw one extra card. Nothing's known. We shuffled this deck so many times already this game.
We just shuffled
And we
10
haven't-
seconds ago. 'cause of
Right.
the
And we
Besage.
haven't just slammed a Sahili into play. So it looks like this game going to keep trucking along here. As we see a beautiful treasure standing out there in the mana. So even if you want access to that non-recurable mana, but so much in the form of these double halflings, Omnath, Guardian, and Renin 6 making it so that we just never need to keep lands in hands if we ever find future Fables. Well-oiled machine going here, as it looks like a leyline binding in hand. Ooh, checking
That's
again.
all I could see as well.
But honestly, maybe one of the most important pieces. But again, Yovan's rebuilding. We've seen Inkmoth played for their turn to be in their mana base. Binding specifically cannot interact with these land permanents. But we can interact with getting Yovan's life down to 3.
Yeah, it actually does look like Justin's a little low on action and
Mhm.
interaction. There's a little binding and the halfling just got played.
Yep.
And I think a basic land was the other card in hand.
Okay, good to know. I was just wondering, this Renin 6 is on 6.
Yep.
We're 2 turns away from our Bolt in the Graveyard
Yep.
being the kill condition here for Yovan.
Yep.
This 4-color deck, I didn't understand it for a while. Bergman easily explained to me, you float the 1 Bolt just in case for your Renin 6 emblem. And now we see Yovan booting up this Inkmoth. Remember, I believe we're going to go after this Ozolith
Yes.
so that we can't put all those counters on it. And now, Yovan understanding that I'm just going to have this little 1/1 that I can maybe put 1, maybe 2 counters based on my Ravager interactions, but then I'm just going to be attacked back from an opponent at 40 points of life at the end of that game. And now we're off to sideboarding this 4-color copycat control, taking down game number 1.
40 life. Justin was playing Commander,
Yeah,
I think.
sometimes that's the way it feels when you're playing like decks like 4-color, where it's like just good card after good card after good card. Sometimes it feels like Commander deck strats. Let's take a quick run through here. This 4-color cat control sideboard. We're looking at 2 copies of Endurance, 1 additional Teferi Time Raveler. You'll find 2 in the main, third one floating here. There is a March of Otherworldly Light here in this version. That was cut last moment. Brickman is playing 2 copies of Cursed Totem because it's a rough out
Coward.
there for some Scales players. 2 Dovin's Veto, 2 Unmoored Ego, 2 Supreme Verdict, 2 Chalice to the Void, an Engineer Explosives, and a Besage You. A lot of toys to look at. What are you looking at, George?
First, I'm not even looking at the sideboard. This Zagos Triumph seems very lonely.
Oh, the floating
The
61st?
61st card.
Yeah, sometimes that's just the way that it be.
After I get past that, though, like you mentioned, there's going to be the 2 Cursed Totems.
2 totems.
You're going to bring in this extra Besage You to loop in with your Ren. You've got one main deck already, so that's awesome.
Engineered
Couple of
Explosives?
verdicts, the Engineered Explosives.
You can put the Verdict, yeah, like you were saying, sometimes Scales are just
Yeah.
building up a bunch of creatures, remove them from the board.
I could even see bringing in Endurances for twofold. One, it can block Inkmoths in a pinch.
Has reach, great.
And then 2, you can clear out the graveyard in response to or
Soul
to
Cauldron.
protect against future Soul Cauldrons.
Right.
There's a lot of exile in this deck, of course, with the endings, the bindings, and solitudes.
Mhm.
But if you're bringing in like verdicts and Besage-Yous, there might end up more creatures in the
Right.
grave. Maybe you don't want that to be a liability.
And this might end up just being a situation of I have an entire main deck of only good cards, but I need a couple of these sideboards. We might trim here, trim there to figure out just the exact spots. Might even cut the combo altogether just to get enough space to make sure you don't lose the game. Remember, we didn't need it at all that game. And take a quick peek here at this Hardened Scales deck. Looking at a generic list, or are we looking at their exact 75? We're looking at this quick generic list. What sort of things would you be on the hunt for to try to fight back against someone playing 4-color-esque style strategy against you? Here we can see a couple of options like Haywire Mites, Nature's Claims, Tameo Safekeeping might be one of those protection cards you were thinking about.
Yep.
Dismembers, Chalices, Cages, and Spears. Is there a lot of this possible board that you're looking at to try to increase your matchup here?
I think it's just the mites and the safekeepings that stand out the most. Mites for the
rings,
for the fables, and then the Tameo safekeeping just
for
to
all the
really,
removal.
for that one turn that you need it for, where you've maybe put Justin in a pickle and he's got one removal spell and he's got to pay for the ward, and then you're like, all right. All that being said, I'm going to protect my Ink Moth and you're dead.
Yes, that's the important part, right? These small protection effects could give you just that single turn that they're sitting back with a single Solitude being like, I've got this, but then they realize that they're stuck, go into that one removal spell, and might just die on that turn.
But that's it. I think these Stamping Spheres are for Tron. These Graph Trigger's Cages don't come up here. These Chalices are for Rhinos, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
And so
And
I don't think the Dismembers really slot in here for an Omnath. I don't think you care that much.
a quick thing I wanted to point out specifically about the Tameo Safekeepings is these are target permanent, so we can use these to protect Soul Cauldrons, Ozoliths, whatever it need be. This might be the option over what we said earlier, the version that gives a 1/1 counter, because this one can keep a lot of our pieces safe. So interesting to see what exact pieces Jovan may be working with out there. But if you start seeing some mites or some way to protect your cards, those are most likely to be those sideboard cards.
I also want to bring attention to, I don't know if this is exactly what Jovan's playing, but these two Echoing Deeps
Echoing Deeps, yeah.
are
So
spicy.
so
I like this.
Echoing
Actually,
Deep,
I don't like it.
no,
but
you will lose to it a lot as this card comes in and copies a land in a graveyard. You're very likely in future games to see this copying Urza Sagas that just popped, and sometimes Inkmoth Nexus when you think you've already dealt with them.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see how these post-board games go. I think Jovan's more on the, I don't have too much to dilute my deck. I'm going to be on the play. I can probably just if I can get my wheels going in the first couple turns, overpower whatever Justin's trying to do. He's going to be on the back foot. But Justin's sideboard had a lot of options, and there might, there might be the case of over diluting your deck, and we'll see what the board plans here are and how both players fare.
I know Jovan kept their hand. I'm seeing Forest, Scales, Inkmoth, Ravager. Like, we're off to the races. Patchwork Automaton on top of all of that. Like, unbelievable. Jovan maybe couldn't have scripted it better to have this be the hand that they're playing.
Yeah, it's really nice in Ancient Stirrings after you deploy your first couple of items in your hand, you can then say, well, what am I missing?
And go digging so deep for it. And a deck like Jovan's, I believe every card except maybe possible sideboards are all hits off your Stirrings.
Yeah, Dismember's
except
a miss.
Scales proper, right? I think might be the only card that you can't, and then maybe if you bring in something like a Dismember. But using Stirrings, that same effect, much like a Tron deck would, and just understand there are so many cards that you can grab off of it because your deck is just built in such a way that you've realized that this can just kind of be your best spell for digging as deep as you can. So, like you said, 5 cards is so many cards.
It's kind of ridiculous.
And when you're looking for a Ballista, Soul Cauldron, Inkmoth, whatever it is you're on the hunt for, you have so many cards deep to try to find them.
Narset doesn't even look 5 cards deep. That card's busted.
It looks 6 over 2 turns, or 8 over 2 turns, right?
Yeah, I get to see 8 lands over 2 turns.
8 lands is the right way to feel about it. Looks like Justin mulliganing down to 5 here, but looks to be a hand with Solitude, Ring, and a couple of lands. If I'm going to keep a 5, I hope it has that ring. We're sending him on back. Jovan's going to kick it off here off Basic Forest, Hardened Scales, and throw it on back. Fable the Mirror Breaker, you want to talk about the card you want to draw to get out of a mulligan to 5.
Yep. And look, Justin's got this bolt, and if this is a Patrick Automaton, you're not going to be able to do anything.
I think this Windsup might be Justin's only land, though. So we have an island. We have a basic island.
Yep.
Great, because we're already moments away. You're seeing a very important moment here when you play with fetch land mana bases. Do I fetch, or do I leave the 0.5% odds I draw a land by not removing it from my deck with this fetch? You see Justin taking that small amount of odds, not going for their Triumph, making sure they can set up their mana. But Jovan is slamming Patchwork and Shadow Spear. They are not going to take their foot off the gas.
Does that have 3 counters on it, right? The Patchwork?
But Hardened Scales, we're getting even more.
Hardened Scales, thank you.
Oh, yes.
This is what we were talking about right before the game, too. Oh, and he drew the Cursed Totem. If Jovan's able to get those wheels turning in the first couple turns and Justin's about on the back foot,
but
it's over.
It's too late. We didn't activate any abilities. We just made these Patchworks as big as we could, and the game's over already?
Just played a couple of Tarmogoyfs, and that's that.
My goodness me.
Yeah.
I mean, The best scenario is always, if you're on Brickman's side, you want to win game 1,
Yep.
figure out what's going on in game 2, then be on the play to win game number 3. I guess best case is win game number 2, but I will always take this sort of scenario of being back on the play. Especially, I wasted my bad hand on that game 2. I can hopefully get a
Yeah.
really good one for this game number 3. Be on the play, get all my pieces together, and just being that quick step ahead of hardened scales might be all we need.
There was some murmuring around, before today of temporary lockdown.
Oh yeah, we
As
were
an
talking about
option.
this morning about playing
Exactly.
it.
It was, it does hit some of your own stuff. It's very fragile in the face of like a Haywire My Urba Seiju, but it will hit their entire board.
The whole board, and the only card out of your main that it sweeps up is your Renin 6. If that picked up 2 fetches, maybe it did its job already
Yep.
anyways, and then I'd be the most worried about lockdown sweeping up my Curse Totem.
Yep.
But if I have Totem, I'm not playing the
Right.
lockdown. If I have lockdown, I may not need to play that. And we were saying a lot of the cards in scales, they'll get back a lot smaller, or if they get back a Ballista, it's just 0 and done for. So it'll be very interesting to see if people start moving what looks to be kind of a Pioneer staple and temporary lockdown,
Yeah.
if it starts making its way to be a good sideboard piece here in the Modern format as well.
It hits Rhinos, it hits Yawgmoth, but it is
Oh,
one of those
That
liabilities.
sounds good there too.
Yeah, it's very removable.
And if
Yo-
they're bringing in stuff for your rings and your bindings, they'll
Yeah.
already have a
Mhm.
boarded in answer.
So
We see Brickman looks to be keeping a land-heavy hand with Oath of Nissa and Renin 6 in it. And this might be a turn 1 Oath of Nissa, the one of just staple. If you were playing Copycat, you will want to play Oath of Nissa because it lets you get Forest and fixes your mana for all of your walkers,
Yep.
but also gives you a prime target for your main deck Feldar Guardians. If you're not off to the races yet, your Oath at least allows you to draw cards off the Guardian.
but it only looks 3 cards deep.
Yeah, but it hits most cards in your deck, so we'll take that sometimes as Brickman here grabs a Solitude, puts a ring that they could not grab, and a land to the bottom.
But we see Urza's Saga in Jovan's hands, which is already better than he's had in game 1 or 2.
Right.
We have not seen
We haven't
one
even
yet.
needed it so far.
I think we could have used it game 1, but
Yes.
another turn 1 scales. Pretty good. Pretty consistent.
And I can see a Zabaz as a follow-up. We've got Inkmoth, a couple more lands, that Saga you're talking about, and it looks to be a Ballista, so we may be trying to build up as big a machine as we can.
Oh, this is such a curse, too. The Renin 6 land heavy hand.
Yes.
You're like, this is a spell. I'm going to keep it.
And I always, sometimes when you lose a game with Renin 6 in play, they're like, how did you lose? You have 7 cards in hand. You're just like, they're all the lands.
You wanna see 'em?
I've drawn these and picked these up this whole game.
That's a Sahili.
It is a Sahili, and this is a Ballista for 2. When I was playing this Sahili Cat deck in Standard and Pioneer when it was available,
Uh-huh.
it was always alongside Ballista.
Uh-huh.
Ballista can break up the combo. You can a single shot, shoot the Sahili mid-combo.
Right, because the minus activation takes it
We'll
down
put
to 1.
Sahili down to 1 loyalty, and in that exact window, you can shoot it. So Brickman now has to be in such a scenario where you need to deal with this Ballista both because it stops your combo and is what Jovan has going on right now.
Yep.
But then the layers continue as, they're going to have their more cards that they're going to be able to follow it up with.
The problem with facing against scales, if you're able to get this Ballista off the field, let's say with damage, I think you had a Lightning Bolt in hand, or maybe that was the last game. Now it's in the grave.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a great place for a Ballista to be
In the Soul Cauldron
Soul
world.
Cauldron deck. And in addition to that, if you expend resources on this, there's a Urza Saga just waiting.
Yes, an
for the next 2
unbelievable card for
turns.
grinding against an opponent of any kind. As we see, speaking of trying to grind through a matchup, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Saga for Saga, right? Urza Saga versus Fable.
I don't think that was in his opening hand, but it's exactly what Justin wanted with this land heavy hand. I know
We're pitching those so
yeah,
quickly.
You made that comment. I think it was game 1 where you've got these lands, you've got this Fable, now you're able to switch them out.
Mm-hmm. A very good point that Justin made when we were talking before we started is Fable also makes your Delighted Halflings better.
Yep.
Because you can ramp into them early, and then Fable pitches them away late.
Ballista plus Ravager. This is starting to
Ooh.
become very scary. And Jovan opting not to take a turn off for the Saga.
Right. Understanding that we are more interested in casting Arcbound Ravager than we are activating Saga and making a construct.
My question is, should we be more interested in this versus just activating Saga, getting a potential 4/4, 5/5, 7/7 out of it?
I think a part of this is Jovan understanding that they need to kill Justin as fast as they can
Yeah.
because not only is the inevitability of 4-color looming, but the inevitability of 6-mana combo kill you is also looming.
But now this Ravager is exposed.
Yes.
So if you take maybe a turn off, you get an extra artifact
Mm.
for Ravager food in the future. You pressure Justin because it's not really easy to play around Saga constructs. You're gonna make one on his end step, untap, make another one.
Looks like in response to this Ravager, we're going to use this Solitude, remove Ballista,
Yeah.
and that was a part of a card that's become a problem for us. Now removed from play. We're getting closer and closer. This Fable is going to let us turn these lands into real cards and get very deep into our deck this turn.
Yeah, and we're gonna pitch 2 lands, but notably, you see the Ballista is sitting there in the grave. It is in the grave. He, in
Mhm.
response to the Solitude, pinged Justin twice, so it's available for a future Cauldron.
Spoiler alert, in Justin's hand right now is Saheeli and Cat. So whereas this game may look like it's going to be a slog and a real back and forth, having both sitting in your hand, it's starting to tick, right? We are getting there very quickly. If Justin wants, we could play our land, flicker our Fable, get a new 2/2 out of that, make sure we have a blocker. If we really want, we keep saying it, we can just buy some time. This deck kind of doing the Splinter Twin, right? Of understanding that you're able to turn the corner very fast. You just need to not lose for a couple of turns, and then on a dime, you can start snap and move to winning the game.
Now, it looks like Justin's getting ready for 4 mana. Might be casting this Cat.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, do you want to expose your Cat? To
My question is,
another
what
Ballista?
removal does Jovan have?
If Jovan, he's seen a Cat in game 1.
Mm-hmm. We're playing it.
There
We're
were 2
flickering that Fable.
members in the sideboard.
Okay. And we're using a Nature's Claim here to remove the Fable, understanding just the amount of value that this was going to gain in this moment, and Jovan just cashing in a card while they can.
Yeah, and Justin gaining life, but I don't know. Maybe Jovan would have liked that Nature's Claim to have been a threat.
Right. And we brought in these claims most likely to deal with bindings.
Yeah.
And now essentially using it on a 2/2 creature.
See, we're gonna just float a mana. So no constructs coming out of the Saga. If I'm a control player sitting across from that, I'm so happy. I'm gonna take my opponent out to dinner. Like that was very considerate.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Cards like Urza Saga and Fable the Mirror Breaker feel like they can be like 5-for-1s, right? They create so much value. But if you use your Urza Saga and don't make any constructs, that number starts diminishing. That was a mana source that found a Zabaz, instead of a mana source that found a Zabaz that made 2 5/5s.
Right.
So it's a much smaller version of what the card can do, but might still be just enough. I am not a scales math master. So we're going to start seeing, can we do the dance, move these cards, double them up?
It's got to be, because you've got the Oslos and the Hardened Scale. And so when you put a counter on the thing, it makes more things and more counters and stuff and things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stuff
and
and
there's
things.
too many.
That's how every time I play against Scales, the words stuff and things is exactly how I feel as the opponent.
I think right now you can just take like 5 dice, roll them on the table, and say, I probably have this many counters.
So we're going to see the Zabaz being eaten by the Ravager, triggering Ozolith. So 3 counters are being moved to this Inkmoth Nexus, 2 onto this Ozolith. Arcbound Ravager, this looks like this might be the kill.
There's just no way, it's a lot. Unless he has a Solitude, which he does not.
We do not. We're looking at lands the Healy, Renin 6 in hand. The resolution of this saga finding Zabaz is the numbers we were looking for. Big Inkmoth. And we're about to move 6 + 1, 7 counters from this Ozolith over to this Inkmoth as well.
Nothing.
Just showing a hand of the kill condition, and that's the game for Hardened Scales with the safekeeping to keep themselves safe in hand as well. Man, oh my goodness.
Powerful.
Scales is fast, and Scales is terrifying. And to see Jovan, a player who we've seen playing Isn't Murktide, one of the most just like grindy churn through your decks of the style, Steam Vents deck of the format, to shift over to one of the most difficult decks you could possibly play in this format, and still taking it down 2-1 here in round number 1 for Hardened Scales.
Yeah, look, Justin's bringing out these.
Removing all these cursed totems and engineered explosives.
Yeah, we didn't find any of these sideboard cards though.
No.
It was basically like we're playing a game 1 again, where Jovan found that Nature's Claim. He had a Tameo Safekeeping in hand. He had a little bit more of that Plan B going. In addition to the Plan A just going really, really well in games 2 and 3.
So real quick, we're gonna do some quick chatting about what's offered here at Nerd Rage Gaming. Take it away, Georgie.
We've got Magic. We've got buying, selling, trading in. A lot of store credit you can get, accumulate, save it up for one of those dual lands you want, or that I want if you want. Christmas is around
Save
the
up for one of the
corner.
ones George wants.
I have a whole wish list going. You can get that.
Okay.
My wish list has been thrown around the interwebs recently.
Okay,
Angela
great.
got access to it.
Oh no, Angela didn't send it to me yet. This could be dangerous.
So yeah, the wish list function is pretty sweet, and and yeah, there's always good stuff to buy. I'm on the prowl for standard cards nowadays.
Oh
which
yeah, me
I
too.
didn't think I would be for a long time. and
NRG's coming
here it
up, like
is.
unbelievable chance to
Yep.
play high level competitive standard.
Yep.
If you need the cards, you need the cards.
Yeah. Lots of a good reward system here as well,
Yes.
in addition to the generous store credit. So check us out if you're looking for Magic cards.
With that being said, we're going to scan the field. We're going to find who's out there playing the Spice. We know it's out there, so we're going to be on the hunt for it. We're going to see you all for round 2 as soon as we can. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to twitch.tv/NRG Store, brought to you here by the Nerd Rage Gaming Home Store. I'm one of your hosts, Dominic Stryker, joined by George DeBoer. Say hey, George.
Hey, George.
We have the 1-0 matchup here. We're getting, on the right side, tried and true Hammer Time. Just the aggressive deck of playing the modern format. And on the left side, we have Mill, a.k.a. Bluebird. And it's very excited.
Wait.
Mill up there as a beautiful naming convention for this deck.
M3.
It is Mach 3 of the Mill deck.
I feel like if Mill's on the play, probably wins the match.
I mean,
That's gonna be my prediction.
But-
at the onset.
and if we're thinking about it, we were talking about this before about like, haha, Mill against Scales, you can exile their whole deck. Hammer Time, if you can just get Cauldron out of that deck, one Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and this deck could disappear.
Yeah, it's a similar situation. We have an archive trap here, so that's free. That might hit the Cauldron by itself.
Right? Hammer Time, once was a Luris deck, was itty bitty on that mana base, right, to hit the Luris stipulation. Since then, added Coldra and maybe Nettlecyst, and other
Yeah.
than that, could still meet a Luris restriction
Yeah.
today. Showing that if we can find a Laughter, it will not take long at all.
Luris really restricted your deck. I think it was too much of a constraint.
Right? It's really hard that this
It's
deck had to
good that
change
it's
2
gone.
cards since the bannings. Archive Trap, slamming this into play as this Sigard is aid. First spell in the stack, first moment I have of interaction, it's Archive Trap time.
What's
This
that
card-
Oh, that's Latasha's in hand.
We're looking at a Shelldock Isle. I'm seeing a Polluted Delta, Field of Ruin, the Cycle Mill card, and a Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
And I didn't see any
Yeah, we need
Cauldras in the grave. So
right. We need to keep up with AJ's milling because Cauldra is the big one. We want to try to get that out of there.
a couple hammers, a paladin, a couple of lands.
All goodies, but remember your deck's always random. So as long as your tutorable pieces, whatever may be those perfect spots for you, as long as those are still in the deck, this could very easily go poorly for
Ooh.
Matt very quickly.
Surgical. That was a quick surgical.
Off that shell dock,
Yeah.
tucking that away for later.
Is that what you would have taken? Yeah, maybe we're giving it a second thought. Okay, we got a crab. I think.
There was crab, 2 Visions of Beyond this surgical. It does look like we just need to unlock that crab possibly for later. We have to be pretty close already to meeting the criteria
Maybe.
for this Shelldock Isle. Shout out to our lovers of Cube, an amazing spot for Shelldock Isles.
Oh yeah.
When you're playing at lower counts of just cards overall, sometimes sneaking Emrakul in on your opponents, you can play the tucked away card without paying its mana cost if a library has 20 or fewer cards.
Well, we did get the Cauldra out of the deck.
Or a hammer, which
That's fine.
isn't going to be good news either.
Nope. Ooh. That's very interesting because there is at least one hammer in the grave, and Mill typically plays like 6 surgical effects.
Oh.
Something like that. Like maybe 5.
Very
7,
worrisome that
6.
if we tag a surgical, we could rip the one out of the
Yeah.
hand too.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
But Hammer can't play slow. It's not in Hammer's DNA to go slower and give time to an opponent. And we see Matt here slowly ticking up. This is our second land drop. Next turn, the third. And that Hideous Laughter is going to be going for the jugular on turn number 3 already for Hammer time.
I wanna
Here, we're
sorry.
setting up.
I want to see if AJ has already the other hammer in hand, and then just Matt's dead next turn.
Oh.
I want to see if that's the case, to where you make the decision of, yeah, I'll just risk it
Mm-hmm.
because I could just win.
And it looks like Matt here getting double blue, most likely setting up the cycling card in their hand to draw a card and get a couple of mills off AJ here. And we do, in fact, see that cycle. Yep, take a peek. This was a part of the MH2 experience of giving more toys to decks that were maybe tiers a little below that of high played quality. They gave a lot to Reanimator.
Yep.
They gave a lot to Enchantress. And they gave a couple toys to Mill as well in the past couple of years. And we see Matt champion that deck here today.
That cycle, I'm not missing something. That could have been done at instant speed, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think now AJ can see Matt's shields are down.
Right, the shield's down is the scary
If
part
you do
here.
have a kill here, you just get it. So maybe if I was Matt, I would have saved that cycling until my opponent's turn.
Yes, just to even give the illusion of interaction. Whether you have it or not, sometimes it's worth it just to put the fear in your opponent. But I'm looking at Matt's hand of 2 lands, 2 Tashas. Hammer 1 for AJ. Equip. There's an 11 power creature.
That's it.
Go to damage. Okay, yeah. When you see the hammer time point to the life total, you breathe a sigh of relief. It's going to be very important what AJ is up to here because, like I said, I know I'm harping on it. This Tasha's Hideous Laughter at Matt's hand is going to take so many cards away from AJ.
AJ was intently trying to read that Surge of Salvation.
Mm-hmm.
What colors are on here? What exactly does it do?
Right.
Does it mention blue or black at all?
And the question is the Surge, even though you and permanents gain hexproof, Tasha's is an each opponent from the era of designing for Commander, so we can't even protect ourselves with Surge.
God.
It hexproof will not protect us. The each opponent will still get around that.
Does this deck even play Glimpse the Unthinkable or Breaking and Entering anymore?
Yeah, oh no, those are gone. I was thinking of the
Yeah.
Ancestral Recall when they have
No, yeah.
the blue black ones gone. I think the black mana might just be for surgicals nowadays.
No more like pushes or anything?
Most likely maybe out of the board, right? We'll be able to
Okay.
check it out when we're looking at sideboarding here. Is we do see a Water Grave in Matt's hand, so at least some reliance on getting true black mana. As we see a Gingerbrute follow up for AJ.
Okay. I mean, Matt's got a... I think his eyes lit up like that's exactly what he was looking for, a blocker.
That is correct that this is a blocker, but remember, Gingerbrute can only be blocked by creatures with haste, and maybe we'll try to sneak through here.
But we don't have a way to move the hammer at the
Right.
moment. So we have the blocker
Oh.
for the Stoneforge specifically.
But we're about to get a hammer off this saga. And then
Oh,
the hammer
well,
goes
then
on the Gingerbrute, we
How
give it
many are left,
unblockable.
though?
Oh, if there's not even one left in
Yeah,
there
how
after all
many are
these
left?
mills,
And I know a Shadow Spear's gone,
right? It's gonna be
which would have
very-
been very good here.
And AJ, I'm sure they've been looking at each of the mills. Gonna be very aware of how many hammers are left over. It's time to see if one's left. Can we give this tiny gingerbread man a giant hammer and get in there for the biggest bonk?
Yep.
There it is. And if we put it on this and pay that 2 to make it only blockable at haste creatures, we're already taking a sneak peek. Moments away, we may see that deck list pop up once again. As AJ here playing slowly, wondering, does your single point of blue mana from Matt, is it going to stop me? Hammer, and that scoop it up. The Gingerbrute sneaking in there before Tasha's could take it all away. I may have leaned on that Tasha's to try to clear all the hammers out of the deck, but that's the moment. Sometimes if you haven't played against Hammer in a while, it can really sneak up on you with just how fast it can kill.
I don't think Matt had the option to play Tasha's there because he needed a blocker already for the onboard
For the
Stoneforge.
one on board that already
So,
had the
I
giant
think he
hammer.
was just in the abyss and
Right.
the writing was on the wall.
Maybe the answer was try to go for Tasha's and hope the deck disappears. If I can just mill all of it, that's still game, right? As we're going to take a quick peek at these beautiful deck lists. Pulled from Goldfish here for this Hammer Time, but we did see blue lands out of our Hammer Time opponent, so we know that they are playing the blue splash, access to cards like we're seeing this main deck Spell Pierce, and sometimes floating very important sideboard pieces. We can see here out of this example version, this Lavinia Zorius Renegade, sometimes cards that really help Hammer fight back against things like Tron or the big elementals of Solitude, just having something to help them keep safe. My question is how often do you plan a sideboard that has answers from mill?
Me personally,
Right,
every
yeah.
day.
Oh, sorry. Do you
Every
pack the
day.
one of Emrakul just in
Just
case?
kidding. No, a lot of the control sideboard plans will overlap because you're gonna have like some counter magic and some forces and whatever.
Right, and then if you're a hammer time
Yeah.
opponent, right, you're looking at these couple of spell pierces. Hopefully those can tag these important spells.
Yeah, and I
But
think a lot of the post board plans for Hammer are the same as the pre board plans for Hammer.
kill you as
Bonk.
soon as possible.
So
And hey, it's been working for years now for Hammer. We take a quick peek at this mill deck, see what sort of toys they're looking at as well. We can see those uses for that black
Did you
mana
get it?
floating around. The part that is very important, you were wondering what's so good about black, the drown in the locks. I always forget that these are like a perfect tool for a mill
Yeah.
deck, becoming counterspell slash Doomblade, Terror, whatever you want to call your terminating effect.
Yep.
Drown in the Locks really quickly fueled by everything going on in the mill decks. And we can see some important pieces out of the board, looking at like maybe Go for the Throats, more surgicaling effects, Crypt Incursions. There's a lot of access that the black cards give you to things that could be important. But you said early on, what would you be looking for in the main deck? Something like a Fatal Push. We can see it. They might
Mhm.
exist here in the main. They might
Mhm.
exist in the side. But I imagine you're on the hunt for removal, removal, removal.
Yeah, these ensnaring bridges are awesome if they're here. Might even bring in some ghost quarters for the sagas and the ink moths. Looks like maybe go for the throat EEs or you know
Yeah.
something to that nature.
EEs
just like
clean up
more
so
removal.
much of Hammer's board.
Looking at the main deck though, I mean, if you've got Baleful Masteries, cuts, drowns, fatal pushes, Matt didn't see any of that game
Yeah,
one. It was
we're on the
very
hunt.
unfortunate.
All of this removal, whether it's here,
Yeah.
whether it's in the board, I imagine it's got to be in the main deck going into game number 2.
I think we just needed like one.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have maybe survived long enough to take over the game, but
Right.
maybe we'll draw them here in game 2 and 3.
We're going to head on back down, take a look at these beautiful players, getting ready for game number 2. We're going to have Matt on the left side here, our mill player, on the play this game. Like we feel the plan might be mill a lot, kill a little, and just get there as fast as you can. We may not need that many removal spells to stop our hammer opponent.
I do see a fatal push
That
on the left,
That's the first box that I'm checking if I'm this mill player, right?
and I think I saw 5 or 6 lands on the right.
AJ quick mulligan, but on the level of decks that mulligan well, hammer time is almost at the top, right? Sometimes they can just really piece it together. Your
Yeah.
6s look a lot like your 7s.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be a deck that wins games with a couple of cards floating in their hand. Might as well take a mulligan to get a really good one and push that pressure, because although you didn't feel it in that game, AJ, you were very close to that game being over on the other side as well. And we see Matt here with our cycling mill card, a rune crab, a field of ruin if we want to force some searches, get that land drop. And an engineered explosive, we said,
Yep.
might be a card in the board. Incredible for cleaning up hammer time, both the creatures and the hammers. Put that thing on one and just pop it as fast as you can.
It's interesting that Archive Trap is actually quite live versus hammer decks.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, we're on blue white, so we do have fetch lands. But even if we were
Yes.
if we were Elk Disciples, as I would be if I were a hammer player, and we were on the mono white train, we still
Saga.
have sagas,
Stoneforge.
Stoneforges, and that's it.
Sagas and Stoneforges.
Your opponent's Besagus.
Yeah, but that's 8 cards out of your deck already,
I don't know.
right? If your opponent shows up, if you got Beseiju, you're
Yeah.
definitely bringing in a matchup like this.
So I don't know.
But
It's
it will
still- it's
be,
still there.
and that is an important part when you're a hammer player, understanding that, having a couple shocks, Seacomb Crows, fetches aren't that big of a cost when playing the modern format. Maybe you really want those access to spell pierces, but specifically a fetch land comes back to bite you in specifically the mill matchup when they draw these archive traps.
If I was playing here at NRG store on
mhm.
Wednesdays, I would definitely opt for the version that has solitudes in it.
Oh,
For as much yog and
there's
runtime
so
that we see here,
You haven't seen it yet,
it was
folks. So
such
there's
a wave.
there's so many young wolves out there.
It really
tonight.
is dual decks. Is it versus Golgari week by week?
As we've been saying. And an important part about AJ's mulligan, Mold of 5, that's 2 cards back in the deck against Mill. Your
No!
life total goes up by 2,
4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
right? It's like, when you think about it, if I like to call Mill Blue Burn, their life total is how many cards are left in that deck. So the sunny side of AJ's mulligan is your life total kind of just went up by 2.
Just a little bit, yeah.
As we see start on Watergrave, Shock, and Rune Crab. Rune Crab here to ruin your day. As we see AJ get started. Plains. Springleaf Drum. A tame start from Hammer
Oh,
Time.
Do we have another land? Is that a Marshlands? Okay, all right. So we're not leaning too heavily on that spring
On
leaf
this
drum,
drum.
so that's good.
Mill 3 cards over. Forge Anew, also one that really ups the overall mana cost of AJ's deck. Gone. We've taken care of that one too.
I think AJ would have loved to have drawn that if it was one card deeper, because if you're getting milled, you almost sort of tutor what you want out of your deck. Oh, there's a hammer in here. Let
Oh,
me just
yeah.
get it back.
The Forge Anew, as the
Boom.
game goes on,
Free hammer.
those might even have been out of the sideboard. I've seen sometimes Hammer players float those on the board for grindier matchups. Cauldra. This is a Cauldra alert. Cauldra is gone. Forge Anew is gone. The high mana cost of AJ's deck, gone.
Are we on? Did AJ just not want to play one of his 2-drops?
No, AJ seems to be holding on to this Spell Pierce in their hand.
You could still hold it with the Springleaf drum.
Mm-hmm. Solitudes, these most likely came out of the sideboard. That's 2 5s
Wow.
now milled over as well. AJ, you can see them exclaiming here.
Disbelief.
May have brought those in to, answer some crabs, but may have brought them in to up that converted mana cost and hitting 2 of them off this rune crab.
No, it doesn't look too happy. I wouldn't be either. I'd be
No.
like, man, I boarded so well
Right.
too.
That's
I had a plan.
It's classic shuffling post sideboarding.
Yeah.
If you sometimes put your sideboard cards next to each other and you shuffle up a bunch and they get kind of stuck together with your 2 sideboard cards, mill, and there go those solitudes.
I don't know about
This engineered explosives, a card for just this is Wrath of God plus against AJ's deck, right?
I was gonna say I don't know about not playing out our. I'm pretty sure there's a paladin there, and I think AJ was playing around exactly what's going to happen here, which is an archive trap.
Yes.
I feel like you're slowing yourself down too much at that point, and
And I was wondering here, it almost looked like AJ was going for blue to spell pierce this EE, but Matt has the mana to pay for it. So I hope we're not falling into the believing spell pierce's counterspell mode.
this could just be on end step or something. But in any case, that archive trap is gonna be live, like we said,
The whole
in between
game.
the match. Like you're gonna search at some point, and so just let it happen and play your cards out at the speed that you need to play them out on. Don't time walk yourself. At any point, you could just kill Matt.
Yes. And we see out of AJ milling over the second Forge New as a part of this 13, really diminishing that life total. And Matt drew one of our sideboarded surgical effects in this extirpate.
Yep, which plays nicely around this spell pierce that AJ has.
Because this one will have split second if that's what we're leaning towards.
Yep.
And with this Pierce Shield on the stack, looks like we're going to rip something out of there.
I see, like holding up the spell pierce, the archive trap resolved. This is gonna resolve. I mean,
AJ just playing in such a way to hold up Spell Pierce and split second, really just putting a damper on that.
Yep.
And we've named Hammer.
I don't know how valuable that. Conversely to how the archive trap's going to be live, your spell pierce is probably going to hit something at some point.
Oh, yes.
You want it to hit the 3-drop anyway, so holding it up here on turns 2, 3, maybe not so important. I think maybe prioritizing playing the cards out could have been more aggressive strategy that we need to adopt, but we'll see. Was there one in hand?
There was one in hand. That was the part that I was wondering is
that is rough.
this is the old school style that when you are ripping stuff out of hand, it's just gone. You don't even get anything back anymore.
I think there was a moment where AJ could have played Paladin plus Hammer with the Springleaf drum. Drawn
Right.
a card off it, had that 10-10 looming, just waiting to start attacking.
Because we could have used this Pure Steel, I think, looming on the stack at one point here when we decided to go for all this before it could become a mana dork. And now, remember, Matt looks to be asking the pivotal how many cards in library question.
And we've got a fraying sanity here, which again, Spell Pierce, not going to hit.
If we decide to cycle it, right? And now we know that Pierce is in hand, so we can play around it as well.
Yep.
1, 2.
Not fraying sanity. What's the real card name?
For which one?
Fractured
Sanity.
That's what I said.
Fraying Sanity was an old school kill in Mill, though. This card is unbelievable as well. Just the unfortunate of a card costing 3 makes it really rough sometimes. As AJ may have found the one weapon they have left in their deck in this Shadow Spear.
It could be.
The Forge Anew's gone. The Hammer's gone. Cauldron gone.
Oh, look. This would have been great on turn 1.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we have enjoyed that?
Now, remember, folks, if we draw Urza's Saga, the beatdowns can begin quick.
Yeah, they become like 7/7 tramplers.
Yes. The question will be, is, do we have enough time to find it before Matt depletes our full brain in the form of our library?
We are leaning pretty heavily into this onboard EE. I don't know if we needed to play out both the Sentinel and the Shadow Spear. I think maybe one of them alone.
Oh, you're saying AJ might be playing a little hard into this onboard trick.
Yeah.
And importantly, maybe wants to force it to remove this Rune Crab. I don't know how much we're relying on our 1-mana permanence, but this is our last weapon left in our big equipment strategy, so it's hard to lean on them when playing against these.
Yeah. We're just gonna pop this Field of Ruin prematurely, which
Mhm.
we will regret if AJ untaps and plays an Urza Saga.
Yes, but Matt here using this to get a card out of AJ's deck and 3 more mill. These fields kind of acting as a mill 4 while being a part of your mana base, and specifically Field of Ruin forcing shuffles in case you need to turn on your archive trap.
We could also just be popping this here so that we can get one more activation out of this crab and maybe end step this EE if that's what we're looking to do.
All right, most likely cycle this Sanity, another uncounterable mill effect, and really just
Nice.
depleting what's left of AJ's deck.
Yeah, that didn't look like too many cards in there.
No. Best identifier is how big of a shadow, and you can see Matt's deck shadow is a lot bigger.
Urza
than the-
Saga, come back. Yeah, the shadow. Well, we can't really see the shadow on the black side of the.
Right.
Ooh.
And now we've drawn Drown in the Lock. Talk about, this is our Swiss Army knife card. Whatever might be a problem, this will be the answer. As another Saga milled over and not drawn.
See what we do with this. Okay, we are just gonna cast it. All right.
And we could do the 2 up to pay for Spell Pierce, so we kind of held this until it became the biggest mill it
Yep.
possibly could. AJ just cashing the Spell Pierce to force Matt to have to use their mana on this instead of on the Engineered Explosives.
Matt can counter it.
If you'd like, you can just pay the 2.
I have spell snared a days before.
Okay.
I
A little bit of a
have
show
not
off.
forgotten this, and I
That you
never
coulda
will
just
forget
paid the
this.
1?
Yes.
Remember, use every resource at your disposal, and the only one that replenishes every turn is your lands. So if you can use those, I recommend that first. I always bring this up when people have treasures in play. Usually I recommend using
Well,
your land before your
just-
treasure.
We just let the spell pierce happen.
This means we favor the importance of our Engineer Explosive activation. That we are willing to let this go into the Spell Pierce.
But there's no more hammers.
This Inkmoth might have to do it the hard way with this Shadow Spear and just attacking for 2 a turn.
I don't know what we would be afraid of here if we're in Matt's chair. The hammers are gone. The Cauldron was gone as well, right?
Caldra's gone. The 2 Forge Anews are gone. We can't get them back. The thing I'd be scared of is, does AJ have a Nettle Cyst
Yeah.
somewhere hiding in their deck? A card that almost makes the cut, but could be massive if we get into play, if it's even in the deck at this point. And also Matt leaning on this Drown in the Lock, right? Letting that Spell Pierce resolve, because we have this catch-all in this Drown if need be. Whatever the question, this is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible card, Drown in the Lock. As we see AJ piecing together, what does combat look for them? Is it worth it? Do I need to go for it? We're starting to see a little bit of the finger tapping, try and do the math.
Go for what?
Just a rumble in for
Just attack.
4 or 5 damage, right?
Attacking with your 2/2/2s. And
What's hard is this Rune Crab's the 0-3. Little too
this
big.
is the new one. It's an O2, right?
That's the important. I remember there are 2 different sizes. Rune Crab is an 0-3.
This one's the O3?
This is the 0-3, so real good blocker on this board. Surge of Salvation.
We drew that off of the not paying for the Drown in the Lock because we didn't have the mana for the Sentinel.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Those are the moments you live for, right? Just like one last moment, one last draw, and just it being
So
exactly what you're looking
We
for.
didn't pay for the Spell Pierce to leave up presumably the EE, which we could have just cracked the EE here, I think, instead of casting a Drown in the Lock for similar effect.
Right. And it's interesting,
So-
right? Because we went. Did we go after the Paladin with that drown or did we go after this Esper Sentinel?
I'm not quite sure, but I think putting the EE or exploding the engineer, exploding.
I would love to explode
what
the
did they-
engineer,
What
right?
did they engineer? What is the item?
The explosives.
The explosive.
They make it a bomb.
Okay. And regardless, crack that. Hold the drown for something else.
I think with Matt seemingly flooding here and getting these 2/2/2s that are cost 2 in the form of these Pure Share Paladins, AJ might be trying to piece together the scrappiest win that Hammer Time has ever had. Remember, Matt is, out of cards. We have this cracked Scalding Tarn to get a little bit of mill. We have this Engineer Explosive to clean up the ones. But these 2-mana 2/2s might just be the ones to get in there.
This Tarn that's going to be worth some cards is
Mhm.
also worth 1 life.
Which is truly not nothing in
Yep.
when your opponent's just trying to scrap in with 2/2s.
Yep.
We might even, I was wondering if we wanted to move the Shadow Spear onto the Ornithopter and get into combat, because it's something that won't be blown up, but the Spear would have. Did we maybe want to fire up that Ink Moth just in case?
Another Paladin.
A third 2-mana 2/2.
Wait, that's really good, though.
Yes, it's fantastic for the clock that AJ's trying to scrap together. Another land, more mill,
How
a
many cards does he
reality chip.
have?
and a fetch
Oh,
here.
no.
But the question is, how many fetchables does Matt have? Is Matt
Surely
going to run out of...
No.
We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our fetchables in play. AJ looks like they're counting their deck. Not many cards left. Island Trigger.
I don't think so.
Oh,
Oh, no.
There's a single card left for this final Scalding
So you
Tarn.
just-
Matt, do you have a fetchable?
He didn't. No, it's just he did.
Okay.
I thought what I give earlier. but
Yes.
It's over. It's it.
My biggest recommendation, we got caught up in that moment, is if you're AJ, wait that one moment further to just confirm that Matt has that final kill condition. But we have Mill picking up that game number 2.
Scrappy win for whoever would have.
No matter who would have won. Yeah, exactly. Matt, very importantly, playing out their fetches, but leaving them uncracked, knowing that they're going to need to kind of time these out and slowly go through it. And they used every last resource. No cards left in hand, no available fetches to get exactly AJ's deck total. And we see players here, AJ trying to understand this extra pay that ruined my day. How can I play around it? It's difficult with this card having split second.
It's an old ability that has never been brought back. Has it been?
Just came back in the Lord of the Rings Holiday Edition with Legolas's quick reflexes.
But that's one of those fake cards for Legacy.
Right, that you
Yeah.
play and will lose to probably in the coming weeks out of Dark Depths, right? Or maybe protecting an Infect player who's really feeling it.
I will be playing some Legacy tomorrow. I'm gonna be streaming.
That'll
be fun with Devin. And,
Shout out
and
to
Muddy, I think.
whoever and wherever you could find that.
Probably on the big screen.
Ooh, on the big screen in my living room.
Yes.
As both these players are getting shuffled up. Remember, very importantly here, Matt took down that game number 2, which means we have to put our Hammer Time player on the play in this deciding game. And just like any match, any game of Magic, play draw always important, but putting the aggro player on the play, even more just that last push of importance and relevance.
We saw AJ's mulligan a handful of times already, and I wonder if he's pretty keenly aware of, hey, if I'm able to get a turn 1 Sentinel here, this game is very different than any other 1-drop I could play.
And a mark of a disciplined Hammer Time player, right? Sometimes players will have the easy mulligans, like too many lands, not enough lands.
Yeah.
But if you see players who are very locked in on decks, aggressive mulligan or like quick mulligans can start to show that they know what they're looking for, right? When you're on the hunt for these opening hands, knowing like, oh, this has 7 cards, but the 6 could be so much better. The 5 could be so much better. And a lot of that comes from experience with the deck, with the archetype, with time in the format. So sometimes when I see players really aggressively mulliganing, it can be terrifying as the opponent.
Yeah.
Because it's just showing that skill and it shows they know what the game is about. Real quick, while these players are sideboarding, just taking a peek and doing their mulliganing, we're going to look at the wildness that we see here. Hiding in the background, we have this shardless ring deck on the right side. Oh, what's that, you say? It's just beans with no beans. Brian just could not get away from Elder Deep Fiend. And Ermon on the left side, a Yawgmoth player through and through for months on months on months. And we told you there is a lot of Young Wolf hanging out in the room.
This board state looks very one-sided.
So much so that Brian is on Ermon's side of the battlefield. And with an Endurance in play, and looks like a lot of cards cleaned up, and a Fire Ice combined with these creatures, and the Nux, that might be a game going to Brian Tepper here on Shardless Ring, Wild, Deep Fiend, Cursed Totem, Fire Ice. Just a pile of cards, just could not get him away from this now beanless bean monstrosity for Brian Tepper.
fascinating choice of deck on the right side to say, well, you know what? I I'll still play this deck.
Yeah. We put it here on this backup to highlight while
Yeah.
our players are still getting ready. And the first one that Brian was playing a deck that got the card banned, removed when people started cascading into beans
Rotten
instead of
Beans.
these 0-mana cards. That's when
Yeah.
Wizards knew there was a problem, that the 2-mana card was more busted than the zeros. They knew that it was time for that to get the axe. Brian understanding the importance and power of the shell of their deck still and playing it. And do you know what card they're cascading into instead now?
Renin 6.
Renin 6.
Yeah.
Just to keep the engine going
It's a
when you've got
bean.
the ring
Yeah,
and
draw a
everything
card
else.
every turn.
Yeah, the card you draw every turn is
Yeah.
the fetch land you played on turn 1 over and over and over again.
And you've still got all the rest of the powerful cards in the core of that 4-colorish thing that's been in Modern for a couple years now.
Yes.
You've got the Rens, the Teveris, the Omnas. Now you've got the rings. All these still powerful cards. Still, you can cross the victory line.
Yes. As we were seeing AJ mulliganing here in this deciding game number 3, Matt's hand is terrifying. We have 4 lands, Rune Crab, Surgical, Extirpate. The cards that are important to your deck, if they're in those top 3, 6, 9 of these mills, Gonzo.
Yeah.
There is going to be very few hammers, very few paladins, whatever it is that we feel is important, they're going to be gone, and they're going to be gone quick. Important that Matt can't mill any cards on turn 1. We'll have to play the crab out. And these will be AJ's moments to strike, as I see Cauldra, I see Esper Sentinel, I see Sigarda's Aid.
Was that a Sword of Feast and Famine?
Oh!
That's just face down now? No.
Mulligan so quickly, gone and away. I was like, hey, we'll find out later.
So we have a Sigarda's Aid.
We have a turn
We
1,
have
I
a
believe.
Sentinel.
Sentinel.
We have it. We found it. Okay. All right.
This is most likely a turn 1 Sentinel hand into turn 2 Sigarda's Aid plus payoff, hopefully.
I like this early fetch. Like, you know what?
Get this done. If you're going to hit me, you're going to hit me. And we know Matt's hand land heavy because that's the important part of this crab. But AJ is going to have 2 turns, 2 moments to try to get through this before it is unlocked.
I think AJ breathe a sigh of relief in a second here when he passes priority, puts something on the stack, passes priority, and sees nothing happen. No archive trap.
No archive trap.
He's going to be really happy.
AJ giving this a good shuffle. Making sure to put everything they need. Sigarda's 8 on turn 1. This is the interesting one, right? Because this is payoff before the creature. Rune Crab in play. AJ here going to use this turn. Very important. They don't know how much distress they're under. We're using this to follow this Stoneforge. We're going to put hammer into hand and hope that off these mills, we don't mill more hammers and Matt doesn't take them all away from us.
Maybe we didn't have a Sentinel in hand all along.
That could be the case. And this may have just been our only route to hammer. So taking this in the best way that we know that we can and hoping to take it down possibly on this next turn, depending on what Matt can do against us.
I'm anticipating this crab turn here.
Double crab.
Yeah.
Fetch lane. We're going to go 12 cards deep. Just don't take the hammers, please. Don't take our hammer.
4, 5.
Oh, no.
We're not even going to wait.
Ladies and germs, this might be the final moment.
Do you have a surgical and an extirpate in hand?
We do indeed have surgical and extirpate.
Yikes.
Matt, most likely you're taking 2 points of life through this surgical extraction as we see these hammers disappearing quickly from AJ. AJ being left behind with land Esper Sentinel as all of these hammers disappear from their deck.
I would have like if the Sentinel's on the field because this Sigarda's Aid hadn't done anything in a couple of turns. You know what I mean?
We would have drawn a card at this point
because
if Matt wished it.
Yeah, I think because you can play the Sigarda's Aid on the same turn that you're gonna hammer somebody.
Right, and surprise them.
Yeah. So, excuse me.
And this might just be AJ is now hopeful to draw Cauldra. If we have a Nettle Cyst in our deck, whatever we can to best utilize this Sigarda's Aid alongside this Stoneforge. So the clock is ticking. Our weapons are gone. The armory is running short.
We're gonna shuffle here, and I wonder if Matt's gonna
immediately extirpate post shuffle.
Well, we gotta We got a fetch, but let's take a look. This is not great for AJ. We've got 2 blockers on Matt's side,
It's gonna
and
be hard to sneak through for any damage.
both of the creatures in our hand right now have 1 power.
Teeny tiny,
It's gonna be a long game.
blocked by the O3. 3 more cards on their way out. Hitting a lot of zeros and ones.
Hitting a lot of sagas and ink moths, which
Yeah.
is kind of what we wanted.
Right. And the Pure Steel Paladin gone as well. Not the most useful, not a lot of toys. You can see Matt debating on this extra pate because does it matter?
We can wait until draw step at least.
Oh, hit him with that true
Yeah.
split second.
Yeah, you can wait until the draw step to see.
Looks like
what-
we've targeted Pure Steel Paladin. I was wondering maybe to go after Saga, maybe something else really remove whatever could be giving us the most trouble. But if AJ has no creatures, it'll be a lot easier for Matt.
What do we?
Taking a
Awesome.
quick moment here on the hunt for that 4th Paladin, and all of
Okay.
them removed from the deck. They can hang out over there with the hammers. Cards that you typically want in hand and not hanging out in exile together.
They do go well together though, so
Yes.
they are reunited.
Right. They're like, if we can't bonk, we might as well reunite it in exile. Off in the distance, in the drift that is far off beyond. As we said before, I'll say it again, AJ is very, very scrappy trying to get through all of this. But we are going to claw tooth and nail with our 1/2 Stone Forge.
Tooth and nail with no hammers, just nails.
And we barely have any nails left.
We have our teeth.
Right. This is just not tooth and nail. This is just teeth. Double Sentinel. Okay. I'd like to draw some cards. I'd love
Well,
to draw Urza Saga.
Double Sentinel's really bad against all lands in hand. No, another
the-
land.
These lands in hand, mills. Oh, right. I forgot about the Forge Anew. And now there's a Cauldron in the bin if we draw the second Forge Anew.
If there is a second one.
There is. We saw both in game
We
2.
did? Okay.
Both of them got milled over.
Astute. Nice.
So they exist. They do exist. In the spirit of the season of the commercial with the unknown cryptid for the holiday of this season, when he meets the fancy M&Ms and they go, they do exist. Anyone? No? It's a
What's an
classic commercial
unknown
like 20
cryptid?
years ago. Santa Claus.
20 years ago.
Oh yeah,
How old do you think I am?
at least 20 plus. At least enough to know that M&M recycles their commercials every year so that they can
M&M,
give out sick bonuses to their employees. Can you imagine? Who
No
wouldn't?
way, do they?
They do indeed. As Hammer Time's getting it for the Rumbleronies, we can get a single point of damage pushed through these O3s. And as you said, Matt sitting on a pile of lands draws another
Ooh.
Mikukoro, maybe?
Yes.
Not playing our Mikukoro.
No.
Milling over an Ink Moth and the Shadow Spear, the armory truly being emptied out.
We're just going to play one fetch land a turn until...
3rd Crab.
Oh,
This one, importantly, I believe this is the O2.
okay.
So if we can get a little bit of bumps, we might be able to start fighting through this one. Hedron Crab is indeed an O2.
I mean, we're going to mill 9 here, untap, mill at least 9 more.
We are sitting on a pile of lands, but that exact pile of lands will be the one to pair together with these crabs and demolish
Yeah.
AJ's deck total here.
I think this is why Umezawa's GT should be unbanned in Modern.
Yeah, because it helps the mill matchup.
Yeah, AJ's got no way to beat these crabs. There's no removal in this deck.
Well, remember we had Solitudes we brought in game 2. I haven't seen any of those
Like
yet.
1 or 2. We can't even cast it. We have 3 lands. No Kahira, no Lurith,
Oh yeah, right. No Kahira in this
Nothing.
deck. My bad.
no Yorion.
Man, all the white ones were pretty good, huh?
Yorion.
All pitch to
Hammer?
Solitude.
They're not gonna do that.
No, they're not going to do that. But AJ here trying to scrape it together, being blocked now by this trio of crabs. Matt putting together just fetching, milling over. This time a full mill for 9. 3 chunks of 3. There's that last Forge Anew, and AJ
Yeah.
sees the writing on the wall, and that's the game for Matt H on mill, bringing it in. Just maybe one of the best matchups that they have in Hammer Time. Such a low mana curve and such important cards they ripped away so quickly. Congrats to Matt, moving up to 2-0 with mill?
With mill.
With question marks with mill? Unbelievable, right? If you're scared of a maybe burn out there. I might be a little scared of this blue burn in the form of mill.
I do. I bring my ley lines.
Good on you. Good on you.
I'll take my free spells where I can. I mean, free spells are nuts.
May I interest you in opportunities to play as much Magic and other trading card games as your heart could desire?
Yeah, my heart only desires Magic though.
Well,
but
tell me about
you
what
can-
all the hearts
yeah,
desire
you
and
can
all of
offer-
Nerd Rage.
We can talk about. There's Commander Mondays. Digimon as well. Which way does this Monday, Tuesday? Because you've got MT vertically and you've got it horizontally.
Oh my goodness.
So my eyes like, oh, which way am I going? Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday. Anyway, Magic
Tuesdays.
Digimon Pioneer One Piece on Tuesdays, Modern on Wednesdays, which is today.
This
right
is today,
now.
right here.
This
You
is
are
what we're doing.
listening, watching along,
You
or
are
if you're on
here.
YouTube, shout out.
Thursday's got more Commander and some Pokemon.
Live streamed here as well. If you're a Pokemon fan, you can catch a lot of streams with the Pokemon crew who've been completely killing it out there if you're following them on Twitter.
Yep.
So shout out to the Pokemon crowd here at Nerd Rage.
And then after that, Friday is Legacy One Piece and Standard.
For free for the month of December.
Wake me up when December ends.
I'd rather not. I got Standard to play.
I don't know if there's an announcement or anything for it, but I saw in the Discord, 2024, we're going to do modern leagues.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
so
actual,
excited.
There's stakes. There's stuff on the line.
There's always been stuff on the line, but it's going to get cooler, fancier, maybe leaderboards, maybe points, maybe swag. So if you're not here already, come on out. But we're going to hopefully start highlighting a lot of local players as well. And with that being said, I'm going to go find some of those players so that we can bring you round 3 as soon as possible. Do not go anywhere.
Saturday Digimon.
Be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to round number 3 here at twitch.tv/NRG store. Or if you're seeing this on YouTube, shout out to the YouTube crowd. Round number 3 of Modern. I am your host, Dominic Stryker, joined by George DeBoer. What's up, George? As Adam's burning it up.
We are going to have a really quick match.
That's that's what Adam Weiss is good for, is if you need to go home just a little bit early, if you need to short YouTube videos,
Yeah.
it's time for Burn v Scale. Someone's going to die, and someone's going to die quick.
He has sent me home quickly many times.
As Adam going back to the tried and true burn, we might even be floating some Eidolons today as these Swift Spears are getting huge. Play with fire to the dome. Scry 1. Boros Charm kept on top. It's kill time.
I heard Adam has been writing something,
Ooh.
a little something about Play with Fire versus Roiling Vortex.
Okay, good to
He feels
know.
very strongly about some of his choices in the burn deck that he has been consistently performing very well with, and I'm looking forward to reading it.
Jovan here getting a 3/3 blocker. Very important, nullifying one of these Swift Spears.
Maybe.
But Adam might be willing to rock in with both of these and lose one just to continue to bolt.
It is kind of a strong wall here with the welding jar behind it as well.
The jar as well, yes.
And I think Adam has definitely voiced his disdain for creatures in the burn deck. And
Right.
I wonder if he's looking at these 2 Swift Spears with some of that disdain right now.
Maybe, but I might be looking at the fact that there are about to be 4 lightning bolts among these 2 Swift Spears, which was the point of the creatures overall, is if they as a burn spell can get you 4, 6, 8 damage, they're going to do far more than any of these spells can do. As Boros Charm pumping it up, getting us this prowess trigger. Skewer the Critic, getting us this prowess trigger.
Gonna hit
This
for
creature
4.
will survive combat being blocked by the patchwork, and we take 3 from the other one, sending Jovan down to 2.
All right, kill me back.
Man, I don't know if... I know Scales can pull it out from very, very low spots, but I have not seen in this situation with such little to work with. And Jovan hasn't either. And folks, if you want to see a backup match, that might be why we're coming to see this one here today. And already, let's take a little peek-skapoo at those sideboards. Adam Weiss, Burn Boy, running for office 2024, rocking 3 Strict Proctor, 3 Path to Exile, 3 Exquisite Firecraft, 3 Wear and Tear, and 3 Roiling Vortex. The 3-3-3-3-3 burn sideboard. George, where we looking?
Well, we've got some wear tears that we're going to
Snap
off.
Snap those off,
And
right?
then these 3 Path to Exiles. I just remembered looking at these proctors.
Mhm.
Elk Disciples will know Mono White Hammer packs strict proctors in the sideboard, which
Mhm.
would have been insane against all the triggers from all those crabs we saw
Oh,
against Mill.
Gosh, yeah.
Something that just came to my mind.
If Adam keeps doing what we're doing now and we end up in the finals against Mill, we might need these all we can
Oh
get from
my
these
God.
proctors.
That would be amazing. But look,
just-
we have so many burn spells already,
Mhm.
and if we need them to go on a creature, we can just point them.
Right.
But probably boarding out like Goblin Guides.
Yeah.
On the draw especially.
And I want to just point out the importance, we saw it in the sideboard here, of Wear Tear.
Yep.
Hardened Scale is one of the best decks to bring in Wear Tear because you can hit Scales, the enchantment, and the creatures, the artifact, making this almost a guaranteed 2-for-1 in this matchup if you feel you need it.
Yeah, and Eidolon of the Great Revel is going to shine here.
Oh, this entire deck is going to become shocks for every card the Scales deck tries to play. And the only way to know that is to take a look at the Scales deck and just see every single card in this deck will trigger that Eidolon as long as it's not a Ballista X equals 2. Looking at this sideboard, remember this is a stock board, but we've seen a couple of cards such as these Nature's Claims, these Tameo Safekeepings, and maybe even a Haywire Might. At a minimum, if I have these Mights, bringing them in as just good blockers and a little bit of life gain might be all we need because burn is fast, but scales can be very fast too.
Yeah, the problem with Chalice of the Void that I never really liked in decks like this is you would love to bring it in here and put it on X equals 1, right?
And then they kill you with the 2s and 3s. We've seen it time and time again here.
You just can't. I mean, you're a 1-drop, 2-drop heavy deck, so it's kind of unfortunate. But
right, this is the deck that has Chalice for 0 to play against all those cascading decks.
A lot of these decks sometimes will have some Chalices, and I think they shine a lot more in other decks. But yeah, this is probably another one of those matchups where you don't overboard, and you're like, well, I'm going to be on the play, so I'm going to be able to win game 2, and hope he doesn't have a turn 2 Eidolon game 3.
Oh, and we might be able to do the old school Tron trick of see Jovan started here. Nature's claiming our own cards just to gain 4 life.
We could absolutely do that.
I saw a lot of Tron players in the past hitting their own stars and spears just to try to keep up against their burn opponent. As Adam starts the Swift Spear once again, and there's the Might on blocking duty. A little bit of a non-bow combo with Welding Jar. We won't gain the life right away if we try to regen it.
Yeah, so if we could pull up Haywire Might just to show some of the abilities, because like Chromatic Sphere and Star, and it's like, does the ability trigger when I sacrifice it or when it dies? And
Haywire Might specifically needs to die, but what's going to be really cool here is the Might will block the Swift Spear, not gain, but come back, block again, and then gain. This Haywire might gain us, instead of 4 life, might gain us 6, 8, even more life, depending on how many times we can let it block.
Say might one more time.
It might? Oh, did I say might and might, huh?
I think, though, Adam's probably happy here with where he's at. He's going to be able to, although he's thinking about it, I thought he was going to slam this Eidolon.
And remember, Jovan went first, played a forest, passed turn, back to our turn to use that single forest. No land drop.
He forgot to play his land. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, as Adam, tried and true burn player, not only are you feeling good, did well at that game 1, but seeing your opponent stumble on lands and not have a lot going on yet, you have a lot of time to start burning. Burrow's Charm upstairs, 4 points. We know our Swift Spear got in there.
Yeah.
Looks like it may not even blocked.
No, I don't think so.
Land, second scales. Jovan just kind of giving a chuckle, passing it back, but I don't know how funny these flurry of burn spells are going to be. Or maybe this Eidolon and sit back a little pretty. Path the Haywire Might, 0 life gain from this card. But we give that land to Jovan.
We give the land, but in that moment he didn't have it, so he couldn't activate in response. He missed out on the block last turn,
right?
So he never got to gain that life. And Adam's not trading a burn spell for it. He's probably still happy about that.
And now Spike upstairs, trigger Swift Sphere, get in there, down to 7 for Jovan, and that could just be the cards in Adam's hand. Ancient Stirrings, and I love Jovan's using their mana on something that does not interact with me, right? They're digging for something else. A jar? Cool.
Yeah,
deal. You got it, buddy.
So unlucky. I mean, I know Jovan probably wanted to either play a spell there or find a better one off of this.
We've claimed our own jar. Gain 4. Very important. This is going to, as we've been saying all night, buy us some time.
I don't know. It's buying everyone time, though.
Yes.
Because Adam's just going to keep drawing stuff.
Yes.
1 card per turn.
And here's the Island of the Great Revel. Adam says this card is set up to make its return to the burn deck, and now it's time for it to show off trigger immediately. And this is not a Ballista for 2. This was a Ballista for 1, still triggering it, but getting huge. And you'll be able to ping off these creatures if it wants. But Jovan not incentivized to do it now, so that Adam has to take damage if they try to play their own spells this turn, like this Sorcery Speed Lava Spike. This is a great block, allows you to eat the Swift Spear's damage and shoot the Eidolon.
Well, bolting you upstairs.
Taking the damage from combat, not killing this Eidolon.
And
Play with fire.
this Eidolon is
And
quite symmetrical right now.
How about last card, Lava Spike, end the game? To the bottom. Fetch return. Spike you?
Well, he wants to go to damage before the Ballista shoots down the Eidolon.
There it is.
Okay. We're not going to go to 1.
And now,
But didn't matter.
in our second main phase, Spike upstairs, and Burn doing what Burn does best, allowing us to see backup feature matches. Congrats, Adam, on going to 3-0. Hopefully we can see you in the finals next round. Jovan's been out there completely tearing it up, but sometimes Burn is just even faster.
Yep.
And look, backup cleanly between games.
Wow.
Most wonderful left side Hunter with creativity.
Yeah, and Hunter, a very apt name for this creativity deck. I was asking Marty. I saw him very, unfortunately in the O2 bracket today.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I said, "What happened last turn?" And he said, "I played against creativity, and they had leveler plus Thoracle."
Oh yes.
I made the same face you just made.
This is a creativity for 2 kill you deck.
It's
Lucas playing what he's calling a black-white scam here. We're seeing a haul into a Hive of the Eye Tyrant into Dothy Voidwalker. Hunter's kill condition is going to be like you see in the Pioneer deck, where you're trying to creativity for 2 and win the game immediately.
Yeah.
When you do this in Pioneer, you hit Xenagos and World Spineworm and attacking for hasty 30. In Modern here, Leveler will remove your entire library from the game, and Thassa's Oracle will check, see you have none, and click the I win the game button. So Hunter here is looking to stall, protect, get to 5, and creativity 4-2.
Yeah, very very non-traditional version of this creativity deck, and Lucas looks like no plays.
We had the Dothy. Dothy got bolted here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We got
Following up with a
something.
Stoneforge. Oh, we're doing the black-white scam.
Yeah. I thought he was already passing turn, but
And speaking of Hunter playing creativity here, as these players are Modern Challenge on lock, both players shuffling.
yeah.
Important. Did you see the card in Murders at Karlov Manor? 1 and a 2, draw a card, investigate.
1 and a 2. That's
Sorry,
3.
1 and a blue,
One
draw a
and
card,
blue.
investigate.
Yes, the new thing.
Is this a creativity card?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
it's so good.
indeed. It's from the new set. I'm like so excited to just be able to like loop through. I can't remember the name. They throw a lot of cards at us a lot of times, but I was wondering Hunter might be playing hard evidence in their deck. Make a clue, make a crab. Might be able to upgrade that to draw a card, make a clue as we resolve expressive iteration.
Yeah, Hunter was shaking his head there as we pulled up these 3 cards, which were 2 lands and a Fable.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter already had a Fable in hand, and was thinking, man, do I just play out this 3-drop here, which is a very powerful one, or do I try to find a lightning bolt? Because he didn't have any removal spell in hand, but we're just gonna take some lumps now. We were not able to find anything.
But Lucas seems to be stuck on 2 lands here for a while. As I say that, they play the 3rd.
Got him.
But we were stuck last turn, and it's good because this style of creativity, looking to just get to 5 mana and end the game, we are not that far away depending on what we can resolve here. And I think we have a sideboard juke because we're doing a transmogrify, aka basically a creativity for 1.
Now we're just trying to get a leveler.
And I
End the game.
yeah, for one of us. And I wonder we might have a post board trick we're on the hunt here for. See cards like Striker Rich, Preordains, Fables, Dress Downs, Hard Evidence, Prismari Command, Spell Pierce, Prismari Command, Hard Evidence, Bolt. Who are we on the hunt for here?
I guess I don't know if the leveler Thoracle is the main deck or maybe is the sideboard.
Oh, might be the sideboard juke. We might be a creativity for 1. Slam this 15 Emrakul. This means not only is Hunter getting an unbelievable threat here in this game, they got boards for the mill matchup if it comes up for them.
I'm dying to see that.
As Hunter here, remember, we don't get the Emrakul trigger, but we do get this 15 flying, protection from spells that are 1 or more colors, Annihilator 6.
Yeah, we're gonna get the Emrakul trigger, just not that one.
Yeah.
But the other one.
The other one,
Yeah.
The Annihilator for 6 is going to clean up a lot of this board for Lucas. We have this turn, this moment to figure out something.
Notably, this Caldra is gonna smack again.
It's going to smack into
Yes.
Emrakul, but then we'll get exiled.
Emrakul will get exiled.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's kind of a free attack.
As Dothy Voidwalker slams down here. Can Lucas figure out a way to remove Emrakul and tuck it under their Dothy and get it for themselves? Only time will tell. Annihilator 6.
Trigger. Oh, did we get that? Oh. Hunter's like, can I?
That
can
sure
I go
looks
to-
like a trigger.
Can I attack? Do you have a solitude?
And that's just the game. Annihilate all of those permanents, leaving Lucas with maybe a Cauldron, maybe a land, but that is all it takes as Hunter takes it down here. 2 games to 0 for this. Beautiful, interesting, is it creativity taking down Black White Scam.
I'm trying to look closely here to
Yep.
see if the Emrakul comes out or if I can't really tell.
Oh.
Maybe we'll get to see in the next
Yep.
match, or I'll talk between rounds to see what kind of a creativity deck this is pre and post board.
And if you want to chat Magic with the NRG players here, or maybe chat about the upcoming league, one spot to do it.
Or if you have, trades, it's not on here, but I've been looking for a full art stomping or overgrown tomb.
So
Full overgrown tomb.
chat up in the NRG Discord.
It's on my wish list.
Sure, absolutely.
Shop local.
Yeah, so if you want to talk Standard, want to talk Pioneer, want to talk Modern, want to talk Legacy, want to talk Little Trade Skaddees, there's only one place to do it.
Or if you want to talk trash.
Oh, we
Yeah.
we do that a lot
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Discord.
yeah.
Or if you want to use the ever so coveted finger guns emoji, it's out there in the Discord.
Oh, treasure. Something about Pokemon.
It is available at NRG Player Pro. If you're a Pokemon
Yes.
player and you want to buy them, this is the spot to find it. Right here, being shipped out from the NRG home store.
I love that when someone says Pokemon, the association is these creatures that we see on the screen right now.
Which
To this
are?
day,
Yep. Uh-huh.
Charmander,
And
Electabuzz.
yep, Charmander and Electabuzz. And with that being said, we are going to see what wildness is out there to bring to you for round number 4 here at the NRG home store. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. See y'all
Bye.
soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the finals here at twitch.tv/NRG store, brought to you by the Nerd Rage Gaming Home Store. If you're checking us on YouTube, what's up? Drop comments down below for this amazing match of Burn v Storm. I hope you're here for a good time, not a long time, because it's burning time. I'm your host, Dominic Stryker. That's George DeBoer.
Hello.
Snapping away as, like I said, this is going to be a race to the bottom for life totals, as our Storm player is most likely looking to grape shot all of Adam's points away, and Adam's going to try to get there first.
It's just 2 burn decks going at it.
Yeah, one's a little fancier,
Different approaches, yeah.
and one's on the play, and it is Adam Weiss with this Monastery Swift Spear. I mean, unbelievable how much it's going to come up here that every moment, every turn you give to this Storm deck, things get worse and worse and worse for you.
Yeah, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but Adam's been off of Eidolon for a little bit. But today he's
Oh.
playing, I think, 4,
Holy
which is going to make a
jeez.
huge difference.
If you can resolve Eidolon of the Great Revel against your Storm opponent, they may cry.
Especially in game 1. Because game 2, there might be some lightning bolts or echoing truths, things like that. But
Yeah, your sideboard is dedicated to answering problems, but also Eidolon hasn't been a problem for you for a long time. That may you be removed the answer to that problem, and now the problem's back again. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me as Lava Spike upstairs, followed by the Adam Weiss Invitational card. Nope, sorry. I thought we were going to play with fire. Instead, we have this Skewer the Critics getting in Bolt plus Swift Spear for 3.
Bolt.
Alex, good luck. A little preordain. Just trying to check out the top, but there is not much time.
No, we know based on Adam's hand, Alex is going to have at least one more turn after this one.
Unless
So-
Adam draws a land, right? Then it's done so.
Well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We can go Charm plus Bolt if we draw a land, and the Swift Spear does the
yes,
rest.
Yes, yes. If there is the top deck land. So not
And,
a guaranteed
yeah.
turn, but
And-
Alex is going to be trying to find one of the goblins plus
Ding. Fries are done.
Blah, doesn't matter.
Boros Charm
Yep.
upstairs, 4 damage, trigger prowess.
Help you up. One more. Which one?
Skewer the critics, or play with fire. The play with fire we may possibly do just in case. And interestingly, Adam goes to combat and then skewers post combat, just for
Fancy.
little. Yeah,
Using
I see.
all
I
the
see Alex
phases.
checking their life total, and I see them writing life totals down for game number 2 as Adam Weiss takes it down. Quick skiddy, easy peasy. 1, 2, 3. Win on turn number 3 because of the Swift Spear, the creature on this burn strat, allowing that Swift Spear to act as multiple bolts, a large amount of damage, allow them to take it down on turn number 3. Let's take a little peek at this list.
Did that Swisser do like 9 damage?
The Swift
Six-
Spear did
six,
1 the turn that they played
one,
it, 2 the turn
2,
after, and
3,
3 the final turn. 6
4, 5,
damage.
6. Okay, there we
Best bolt you could possibly
Yeah.
find, right? Sideboard here, 3 strict proctors to shut off ETBs, not here. Path to Exile only if we're afraid of the Brawl and Electromancer effects, if we know how deep our Storm opponent is going. These exquisite Firecrafts may come in if we need a burn spell that doesn't need a creature, like the Searing Blaze. Wear Tears, maybe not today, and Roiling Vortex?
go. I think the Searing Blazes are fine because there are 8
Hit the
very
Electromancer
important
effects.
creatures, and I believe Baral is a 1/3.
Yep.
So still able to tag that one. Don't think you want the paths though. Don't think you want the wear tears or the vortexes.
Same 60? Same 60?
No, maybe you don't want Goblin Guide on the draw. Maybe you can swap that for a Firecraft. You can expect out of an Izzet deck, if we can look at that one as well. You can expect some counter magic like Spell Pierces or even Fluster Storms. And so you gotta keep things like that in mind. Versus also more removal. So am I gonna lean more
Yes.
on my Goblin Guide or am I gonna bring in a 3-mana sorcery? A couple different ways to go about it, but Storm is let's see, where are the wishes here?
This is classic. This is Gifts Ungiven, Past in Flames, Storm. We are using the big mana engine alongside playing as many spells as we
Yeah.
possibly can to try to get it done with putting that Past in Flames in the bin and firing off a large amount of spells. Like we said,
Yeah.
if these bolts on the board may come in if you're scared of the return of Eidolon of the Great Revel.
I was just trying to remember when I played against Alex a couple weeks ago if he had the Wish package in the main deck. I for some reason it felt familiar, but maybe it was not the case at all.
I think the Wish package is interesting and should be explored in many different types of decks. I think there's a lot of places in decks that may benefit from a card like Wish in a Storm deck, maybe in a Creativity deck, maybe in a slow, grindy Control deck. We've seen it out of the Scapeshift decks.
Did you say in a burn deck?
I did not say in a burn
okay,
deck.
okay.
A 3-mana do nothing in a burn deck.
It could be anything.
Right. But I don't. My 3-mana do anything could just be a bolt.
Or yeah.
And interestingly, we see Adam keeping this hand as Alex sets off with his Steam Vents. Adam's hand does have that Eidolon.
Does it have 2 lands? I think so. Yeah. Well, there we are. Yeah.
As Adam heard you and flicked the 2 lands to the front just so that you knew that they were there.
1, a 2.
And Alex starting off with Serum Visions. Remember this card? Before we got back, Considers and Preordains. This used to be the tried and true, the Serum Vision. Boom. Oh, just Riftbolt on Suspend. All right, that's burn coming later. But Alex also did Adam's favorite thing, that Alex fetch shocked and just gave a free bolt to Adam to set up their own mana for this 17 life total.
Looks like Alex thinking about, am I gonna, if I expose this Burl now, it's
a-
risky,
Mm-hmm.
but next turn it's a lot of mana.
But also, we may be putting our shields down. So we're going Ritual. We're going to add 3 mana. Manamorphose, we're going to draw and filter that mana.
You don't think we're gonna play like a Blood Moon, do you?
If I just fetch Shocked and then played Spire Bluff, no, I don't think I'm going for Blood Moon.
What are we doing for 3 mana? What do you think?
We're going to use this Manamorphose, right? We're going to rip the cards at the top. We are already counting our Storm count.
Yeah.
Alex,
Could be Gabos.
what's happening?
Does he have another ritual?
Oh, if we have an escape, right?
Oh, he's Serum Vision. Just maybe he knows.
Yeah, the top card is a Remand. We have a Brawl in hand. We have another Ritual to follow up with. So we can play the Baral and then use our 1 remaining red, discounted by 1 from the Baral, in a ritual again. And there is a wish.
But then you're out of mana.
Yes.
So.
And the question is, where do we go from there?
End step.
Yeah. I do love the overzealous nature of bringing out your Storm token already. Storm went down. When you play Baral, Storm goes down, all right? We can't mess around. Now, right, we're using this discount from the Brawl, going up the 3 mana, casting Wish, which is discounted. So we have 1 red still
Red shot
floating.
you for 6?
I mean, I guess, but that's everything. That's our whole hand. That's all our cards. What could we be on the hunt for here? I see some
you know
echoing
what, though?
effects. It is the Grape Shot.
If he doesn't do it now, there's an Eidolon coming next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's one of those, well, I don't have an answered Eidolon in my hand. Maybe I just cash this all in.
Adam made this motion real quick here. This Rift Bolt off suspend killed the Baral. So we're leaving Alex with as little as possible.
Yeah.
And now here's the Eidolon. Alex, Luke, I wish you luck. As we played that tap
Adam
Steam Vent.
did not draw. Okay, now we drew. We went to combat, then
Oh,
we drew.
Adam, if you play this second Eidolon, the game might just be completely over. Yeah, take a little trigger from your own Eidolon, no problem. Send it back. Any card that Alex draws in their deck is just going to double trigger these Eidolons. Consider a remand. Do you want to draw some cards, filter through, just play more things into these Eidolons? Be careful.
Remand doesn't feel like the best card against a deck full of 1-drops.
Attack for 4. The other parts of these Eidolons do. And Adam can really just sit back, relax, and wait
Wow.
against our Storm opponent. As we see Adam really with a Boros Charm, a Lightning Bolt, a lot of cards just sitting in hand, waiting for Alex to just play into these Eidolons. If they cast a single spell, they're dead in combat now.
I was so happy for all those many months that Adam stopped playing this card.
This card's a real headache for someone trying to cast 1, 2, 3 spells a turn.
Any spell, like if you're trying to play Magic,
Yeah,
this one's really
especially in this age as things get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And with that being said, the return of Eidolon of the Great Revel taking no time at all. I think our match took 5-10 minutes overall for Eidolon to just absolutely take over. Alex had a cool Storm turn, but 5 damage is not 20. And Adam Weiss undefeated 4-0 for the tried and true burn strategy.
impressive.
Yes?
Not surprising though.
No.
Yeah.
It's one of those, the longer you're around, the more you know that this deck and this player are on the hunt for you and your life total and all those shocklands that you're out here looking to play.
Some people keep asking me about the Ley Lines of Sanctity that I keep in my decks. And I'm like, you don't get it.
Here it is, right?
You don't understand.
And we were even talking about this before. It's like, it might just be worthwhile. We were talking about that 4-color control deck. Maybe we should just be playing some Ley Lines just to survive against some of these things. It might just be the truth. Before we head out of here, let's just go through some real quick stuff for Nerd Rage Gaming.
If you're looking for a new deck, if you're looking to
If you keep
play
losing a burn and you need a new deck.
if you're looking to play in an upcoming championship level tournament and you need some Storm cards because you don't have them anymore because the deck hasn't been around, nerdragegaming.com.
If you need
Pick 'em
cards
all
for
up.
Standard, you guys haven't played Standard in 6 years, pick them up.
Or if you want the de facto best deck in Modern, Burn,
Pick it up.
pick those cards up. And you can trade in all your old stuff like your counter spells and the 1-rings.
Oh, yeah, I would trade those in and buy Burn if I were you.
Yeah.
If you're looking to maybe chat with some local players about how incredibly cool Burn is and how bad your deck is against Burn, there's only one place to talk about it. In the NRG Discord, talk Standard, talk Pioneer, talk Modern, talk Legacy, talk Limited, talk about giving George your Overgrown Tomb.
Please.
Whatever it may be, you can chat about it in the Nerd Rage Gaming Discord. Join us. There's a new emote just went live today. You never know what could happen in the Nerd Rage Gaming Discord.
It's a good time. It's a great time.
With that being said, thank you, George, for joining this beautiful day of Modern Magic. Thank you all at home for joining us. And we will see you next time for more beautiful magic. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.